You're listening to the Heavy Duty Parts Report. I'm your host, Jamie Irvin, and this is the podcast where you will get expert advice about the heavy duty parts you buy and keep you informed about what's happening in the industry. This episode is sponsored by TruckPartsInventory.com. Lowering cost per mile is all about finding the right part quickly. At TruckPartsInventory.com, you will save time by searching inventory from around North America in one place. You will save money by having the option of buying new, used, or aftermarket parts. You'll save yourself work by sending a parts request and having companies contact you. TruckPartsInventory.com is easy to use and it's free. Go to TruckPartsInventory.com today. You're a great technician and you know how to fix heavy-duty trucks. To repair a truck or a trailer properly, you need a couple things. You need great parts that help you lower cost per mile, and you also need access to great tools. If you don't have the right tool, even a simple job can be something that takes a lot longer. It can put people at risk. It can cost extra money. Today, I'm happy to have a tool man on the podcast, and I'd like to introduce you to Alex Stan of stanjacks.com. Alex, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No, it's really my pleasure to be here, Jamie. Thank you very much for having me.
So I'd love to hear the story of how you got your business started. What need in the industry did you see when you started your company?
Well, we're in the truck jack business. So what we noticed when we started our company was that the products that technicians are using and the industry is using in general are very old in their design. So most of these products have patents dating back to 1920, some even earlier than that, believe it or not. So the conventional lifting devices for the truck industry are really old devices. So there really hasn't been much innovation in the truck lifting aspect of the industry in a long time. And we thought, well, you know what, we can design something better, something more efficient and a lot safer, and let's give it a go. And so that's what we did about, I think, 8 years ago now when we started the Scorpion brand. And our deal was to increase safety while the guys are lifting the trucks and increase productivity at the same time, and make the jack ergonomically more useful and more appealing to customers, and make it more of a tool, like an all-around tool for the shop rather than just a one-use piece of equipment.
Okay, so before we get into all the features and benefits of your product and how it kind of works in the shop, I'd like to hear a little bit more. Does someone in your group have an engineering background? Like, what was it that made you think, we could improve on these designs that were so outdated?
Well, we started out as a design firm back in 1999. So we've been around for about almost, 20 years now. And when we got into the business, we got into the rolling jack business, which is rolling bridge jacks or accessories to vehicle lifts. And at that time, we found that there was a real gap in the industry for high quality bridge jacks. So we started designing those from 6,000 to 50,000 pounds. So we have 2 engineers on staff. I'm not an engineer personally. I'm more sales and marketing and administration. But we look and we design products that meet needs of the public and technicians, and that exceed in many aspects, in value, in performance, in durability, and so on. So that's kind of what we do.
Okay, so as a manufacturer, you're probably selling through a distribution channel. Is that correct?
Yeah, we sell through distribution. Yeah.
Okay, so then who is the ideal end user of your product? So your distributors are selling your products out to the market. Like, what kind of people are you specifically trying to help with your improved designs?
Well, I guess the person who would actually ultimately be using the product is a service technician in a truck shop, truck repair shop, a truck lube shop, a fleet maintenance facility, a municipal maintenance facility, anybody who's, on the ground lifting trucks on a daily basis to raise them up, to take tires off, to do brake work, to do oil changes, to do whatever they need to do with a floor jack, and that's really who is in contact with our products on a daily basis.
So when I was selling aftermarket parts, I was talking to those guys, and one of the things that I saw is especially that group of people is part of that aging workforce. And I know a lot of guys, they were saying, I'm getting up into my 50s now, and I've been laying on these concrete floors, and I've been working on these trucks for so many years, and it's really starting to take a toll on the body. So that must have been part of what you saw too when you decided, okay, let's turn our attention to helping this group of people. I'm sure that was at least factored into it to a degree.
Absolutely. I mean, when we saw how technicians are lifting trucks, we were really kind of astonished at the labor intensive nature of lifting a truck. I mean, the guy is walks under the truck, crawls under the truck, places a jack under the truck, hits the up button, lifts up a corner of the truck, then gets out and then comes back with a stand and crawls back under the truck. And he does this twice. It takes about 20 minutes to lift a truck with a conventional bottle jack and two vehicle stands. And the guy's on the ground, on his back. The ground is covered with pebbles and rocks and chemicals. And it's cold in the winter. It's really hard. It's really hard. So we thought, hey, we can do it better. We can make it a lot easier for these guys to lift trucks. And that's what we did with our product.
Awesome. So let's talk specifically about your products now. The Scorpion floor jack. Where did the name Scorpion come from?
It was kind of organic. We designed the product with a vertical handle, and when we looked at it, we were like, and it's black. It's a black, shiny black paint, and we thought, wow, that thing kind of looks like a scorpion with that tail up in the air. So that's where it came from. A brainstorming session, and it kind of stuck with us, and that's why we call it the Scorpion Jack.
People love to hear stories. When you were going through the different design features, can you tell us a little bit about that process? Like, did you go out into the field and talk to mechanics? How did that all come together? I'd love to hear that story.
Well, we did quite a bit of research on the lifting of trucks and axle heights and that sort of thing, and we actually found it very challenging to come up with a product that would meet all the criteria that we had. Like, one of the criteria was we wanted to lift the whole front end or the whole rear end in one go. So that eliminated half the amount of work that the technician had to do. So it would keep them off the ground, off the floor, and out of harm's way. But in order to do that, we had to create something very low profile that would fit under all the axles. So that was problem number one. And then problem number two was we wanted to make the jack really flexible in terms of what points of the truck you can pick up. So we decided to add an extending handle on the jack so that if you're, for instance, at the rear of the truck, you don't have to crawl across the floor to get to the rear axle. All you need to do with the Scorpion jack is extend the handle as far as you need to, and then push the whole jack onto the truck. So really what we do is we keep the technicians out from underneath the truck and off the floor as much as possible, and we let the jack do the work.
So when you rolled the product out, I'm sure you had some technicians that were very grateful because they saw immediately how that was going to cut down on their workload and keep them off of the concrete.
Yeah, we did have quite a few technicians that were excited about the product and so on, and they kind of like, some people had like an aha moment. They were like, oh wow, where you been all my life kind of thing. And then quite frankly, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people, we got a lot of pushback from customers and from managers and from shop foremen saying, this is not a safe way to lift a truck or whatever. We're used to this conventional method, a bottle jack and two vehicle stands. So it's been an uphill battle for the last few years trying to get people to understand that this is the safest way to lift a truck versus what the conventional way that they've been doing for 100 years is.
Well, I don't want to alienate anybody in our audience, but the reality is that our industry as a whole is typically late adopting. And I think we see that in many, the longer I've been in the industry, the more I've been involved with different manufacturers like yourself and having these kinds of conversations, the more I see that it's really, we really do need to modernize and I think that some of that's going to get forced upon us. So why
Mhm.
not take advantage of the people like yourself who are trying to bring things up to a new standard? And really, at the end of the day, you're trying to help people, like with the technicians, to help with their bodies. I'd like to talk a little bit more about this word of throughput. So I'm assuming what we're talking about is the business development side, where we're saying, look, if we use these tools, we can get more trucks through the shop, get more repairs done quicker, which puts more money in the pocket of either the fleet or the repair shop. Is that the right understanding of that expression, throughput?
Yeah, exactly. So, in our calculations, we do reverse ROI calculations, based on hourly rate of the employee, and how long it takes to lift a truck. And, we found that we save so much time over the course of a month that basically the jack pays for itself in, I think it's 3 months, just in the terms of labor savings for that particular product. So the product is actually, it's like a win-win-win. So the technician wins because his life is a lot easier. He's much safer because the jack has safety devices in it. He's on the floor less, so he's out of harm's way, right? And then the manager wins because the manager gets more productivity out of the employee because the jack is basically lifting the truck in 10 seconds versus 10 to 20 minutes for a conventional bottle jack and two vehicle stands. So it's a real win-win for everybody.
Right. I like that expression, reverse ROI. So ROI standing for return on investment. So you have the cost of buying the jacks up front, but within 3 months, you've recouped all of that cost. And from then on, for the lifetime of that jack, you're into a situation where you're actually creating more profit for yourself.
Yeah. Actually, some of our clients, our larger clients, have done white papers on our product because they realize that there's a lot of waste in the truck industry. So, a lot of truck repair shops, they buy equipment that is essentially throwaway equipment. Most equipment now is throwaway because the seal kits and the repair process is more expensive essentially than just getting a new jack. So if you go to any number of shops anywhere in Alberta or United States or Canada, anywhere, you'll see in the corner of the shop they'll have a pile of jacks sitting in the corner. Those are jacks that are waiting to be repaired or waiting to be scrapped or what have you. And this is just a waste in our industry. So it's constant waste because the products aren't designed to last. And our products are designed to last at least 10 years and they're fully repairable in-house. So it's an old school kind of product. It's like back in the day you bought a jack and it would last you 10 years. And these days it's 6 months. If you get 6 months out of a jack, you're lucky. So when you combine all these elements of the waste, the capital waste on faulty equipment, and you add that to the productivity advantages of the Scorpion Jack, it's just like a slam dunk, and it makes so much sense.
So when we talk about increased safety, so at one time I had a contracting business. I started in '09. I sold it in 2016, and we were working at height. So we had a lot of safety concerns and we had a lot of things we had to do to meet safety requirements. Tell us the story of how you, as you were designing this product, had to incorporate safety designs, and what was it like to get whatever level of safety certification you needed to be able to put this product out into the open market?
Yeah, well, because we started out in the automotive industry. There's an institution called the ALI, which is the Automotive Lift Institute, and we always use their criteria for certification as our basis for design. So when we designed the Scorpion Jack, we use the same criteria, even though in the floor jack industry there is no criteria for a mechanical lock. So that's why on the jacks it always says this jack is for lifting purposes only, and then you have to use vehicle stands because the jacks aren't really designed to hold the load. With the Scorpion Jack, we incorporated a three-stage safety lock into the jack. So as the jack goes up, the lock's engaged sequentially for you. And once the jack rather is under safety, you can just start working on your truck. So that's the primary safety aspect of the jack. The second real safety aspect is how the jack lifts. So the jack lifts across the axle. So that means you get 2 points of contact, so it stabilizes the load of the truck. Trucks are quite heavy and they're cumbersome. And if you're trying to pick up a truck on one single point, like a bottle jack will have the head of the bottle jack is about 1.5 inches in diameter, and that's what's holding the load of the truck, when you're lifting the truck. With the Scorpion jack, you have 2 points of contact across the axle, and the points of contact are 4x3 checker plate steel pads. So there's a lot of surface area there holding that truck up. And then the base of the jack is 14 times bigger than a bottle jack. So it's totally stable, it's totally safe, and you've got the mechanical safety. So there's nothing safer out there.
Awesome. And really, I mean, let's face it, with the current conditions that we're seeing in the world today, it's nice to see so many people concerned about people's safety and health, because that really is the most important thing. Nobody should have to sacrifice their life or limb because they went to work trying to take care of their family.
Well, absolutely. I agree. We get calls here every week from customers. They'll call in and at that time, they're prospects. They'll call in and they'll say, hey, you know what? I just saw you guys online. I'm really happy we found you, because last week my technician got hurt lifting a truck, or my technician broke his hand, or one technician got hit in the face with a bottle jack that came out from underneath the truck, And, but it's that kind of accident that causes people to finally take action, and say, hey, how are we going to do this better? Because, this is getting too dangerous, and it'd be better if they just, out of their own interest, business interest, went and looked to try and find a better way to lift trucks. But it's just how it is. That's human nature, I suppose.
Well, most people who are listening today, they probably want to be able to help the industry and the community. So we're just going to ask everybody who's listening today to share this episode with one technician, one repair shop manager, and hopefully we can really spread the word about this safe product and get more people using it, which is going to really help the industry. And I think that's something that I'm happy to be a part of, and I'm sure the listeners are as well.
I think that's a great idea, and we're really excited about our product, and we're really excited about helping the industry become safer and more efficient. It gives us like a real sense of accomplishment when we do something good for the consumer, for the technician, and for the industry as a whole.
So if there's just one thing you want listeners to take away from today's conversation, Alec, what is that one thing?
Scorpion jacks increase productivity and increase safety at the same time.
Awesome. You've been listening to the Heavy Duty Parts Report. I'm your host, Jamie Irvin. Today, we've been talking with Alex Stan of stanjacks.com. To learn more, go to stanjacks.com today. Alec, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Jamie, truly my pleasure to be here. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
Have you subscribed to the podcast yet? Go to heavydutypartsreport.com today to subscribe to the podcast, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on the podcast player of your choice. I'd like to remind everyone to focus on cost per mile over purchase price, and let's keep those trucks and trailers rolling.